Hi, I'm Claudia Sutherland and I'm coming to you from Minneapolis, and I am here to talk to you about a great recipe that I learned while I was in Barcelona, which is kind of the new food capital right now. Italy's still a great spot, but Barcelona, that's where it's at. And we are going to use some key ingredients, and of course one of them is the Philadelphia cream cheese, and I'm going to use today the chive and onion. But when we talk about cooking today, we're going to talk about what you can do to personalize your food and make it all about what you want to do. Piquillo peppers are a special kind of pepper, and they only come canned, and I know a lot of you are thinking, oh, canned food, but you know what? This is the way they come in Barcelona, and people line up for the first cans of the Piquillo peppers, which is a particularly sweet and a little bit spicy pepper, but not hot, not like a jalapeno. So again, what we need, fresh ingredients. Good ingredients is what makes a good finished product. So first of all, we're going to start by cutting up some of our parsley. And I like to use what we call Italian parsley or flat leaf parsley as opposed to using the curly parsley. Take off some of these woody stems. Some of the herbs, of course, you can use the stems, but take off the woody parts. We're just going to roll it up into a ball and we're going to start to cut it chiffonade style. Now, you don't want to just smash it down. The reason you want a sharp knife is because you don't want to crush the flavor out of it. You want to just dice it so that the flavor, the chlorophyll, all of that stays in. If you don't think your knives are sharp enough, take a scissors, a kitchen scissors. So we're going to set those aside and have those all ready to go. Because when we do a recipe, the best thing to do, read through the recipe from the beginning to the end and start to lay out all of your ingredients. So we've got the parsley. I'd put a little wet paper towel over the top of that just so that you keep it nice and fresh so it doesn't get limp. Just put that right over the top of the parsley with a little cold water on there. As you can see, I'm sinkless today because we've covered up the sink and put my mixer here. But otherwise, get this wet, put it over the parsley. We need 3 ounces of a good olive oil, and I don't care where you get your olive oil. I use California olive oil just because I think it happens to have a nice fruity flavor. I love the color. Now, how to be a good cook? Pretty simple. Pay attention to what you're doing. My best girlfriend, love her to death, love her to death, the world's worst cook. And I say, Bets, why didn't this turn out? And she'll say, well, I don't know. I followed the recipe. And I'll say, did you set out all your ingredients ahead of time? Yeah. Little bowls. Yep, she did that. Did you read through the whole recipe beginning to end before you started so that you realize if you're short an ingredient, you can quick run to the store? Yep, I did that. And then the last question I always ask her is, did you turn off the TV and not take phone calls and get the dog out of the kitchen so you can concentrate on what you're doing? That's where she falls down. She's answering questions from her husband and from her kids, and she's watching TV and talking on the phone. You know, for as good a cook as we all think we are, you really need to pay attention to what you're doing. All right, so we've peeled some garlic. Make sure it's good, fresh garlic. All right, and then we're not going to mince this. We are going to get a better knife here. We are going to cut it into very thin little shreds. Now, if you end up with something like this on the end of your garlic, don't throw it away. Just peel it off. And then what we're going to do is we're going to cut this into very thin slivers. And these slivers are later going to be poured over our Piquillo peppers. If you want to have a more pronounced garlic flavor, use 3. Use 3 cloves. I don't care. This is all about customizing to you and your family's taste. Now, my olive oil is heating. It's coming along. I can hear it just starting to bubble. So we want to make sure that it's not getting too hot. And we're going to keep an eye on that. And what we are doing is we are infusing the olive oil with the garlic. Little bit of some fontina cheese. Oh, I'd say maybe 1/3 of a cup. And we'll set that aside. Now, take a look at the olive oil. It's just starting to bubble, just starting to bubble. We don't want to brown the garlic. If we overcook the garlic, it will burn and it will have a funky flavor. So be very, very careful. But we need to get the oil hot enough so that we can infuse the flavor into the oil. All right, and the key ingredient, of course, in this particular recipe is Philadelphia chive and onion cream cheese. Now, I love this one. You can also use the Philadelphia Garden Vegetable, or you can use just the plain Philly cream cheese. Again, this is all about customizing to your family's taste and to your taste. And I'm going to encourage you, always taste the foods that you're making. You know that old story, there's no such thing as a thin chef? Well, a thin good chef. So right here, we put everything, all 8 ounces, into our mixing bowl. All right. That's the 8 ounces of the Philly chive and onion whipped cream cheese. And then we've got about 3.5, 4 ounces of goat cheese. And again, if you want to use an herbed goat cheese, that's fine, whatever it is that your family likes. And if you don't want to use the goat cheese at all, then substitute that with additional cream cheese. And maybe you do part chive and onion and part regular. And then the fontina that we chopped up earlier. Now, we're going to turn this on and we're going to start to mix this very slowly. And as we mix this, we're going to chop up some of the other things that go into here. And one of the things that we need is some onion. And I like the sweeter onions. I like the Washington Wawa, the Vidalia. You can use red, you can use yellow, but try to get a sweeter onion and get it minced pretty fine because we are going to use this and pipe this mixture through a pastry bag. So we want to get this onion pretty finely chopped. That looks pretty good. And again, as I said, about 3 to 4 tablespoons. So 1, 2, 3, and then we have about 3 tablespoons of the Italian parsley. Remember, we use the flat leaf for Italian. 1, 2, 3. Give a little bit more in there. Today I'm using sea salt, but you can use kosher salt as well, and always fresh ground black pepper. So our Piquillo peppers, they come in a can. This is a 13 3/4 ounce can. And we'll count how many peppers are in here. I think there's about a dozen. We want to drain these. And again, as I say to my best friend Betsy, read the recipe all the way through. Because what it says is drain your peppers and reserve the oil. All right, you see some of this oil? Why would you throw that away? It's got great flavor. So we want to blot these dry. We want to be very careful when we take them off the colander, only because we don't want to split them. So we just want to dry these out a little bit. So we're going to lay them on a paper towel and blot them. Okay? So I filled this up with the cream cheese, twisted it, hold it in your hand, get a nice plate. I want you to use the plate that you'd like to serve these on. Pick up one of your peppers and very, very, very gently fill that. Lay it on the plate and repeat. Now, can you make them ahead of time to this point? Yes, but not too far ahead of time. I would make the filling, but I would not open the can of peppers until you're ready to fill them, about maybe an hour before you're ready to serve them. And the peppers tend to be all about the same size. All right, we've had our garlic and our olive oil infusing over here on the stove, and it's come down a bit in temperature. It's now probably 100 degrees, so not real hot. And you need to taste that to make sure that there's enough of a garlic punch. Oh yeah. Perfect. I would also add a little bit more salt, and I'm using kosher salt this time as opposed to sea salt because I like the grains to show. Now, as I said, this is still warm. The garlic chips are kind of brown, and we just pour this all over our peppers. And this is ready to go, except we're missing one crucial thing, and that's garnish. And I always like to garnish a plate with part of the ingredients that is in the recipe. So in this particular instance, what we're going to do is we're going to garnish this with a little bit more parsley, and we take it out and serve it. And that's Piquillo stuffed peppers stuffed with chive and onion Philadelphia cream cheese.